Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be discussing what you should be looking for in the upcoming May 16 primary elections in the states of Pennsylvania and Kentucky. There are a few key races you should really be looking out for that will be important for the general elections when it comes to the 2023 elections. Obviously, there aren't as many as we would like, but you know what? People who are into politics have to find entertainment where there's entertainment, and so we are naturally going to be looking at many different races, even those that are less competitive, to see just how much difference in margin there is, how much candidates underperform, etc. So, without further ado, let's begin with Pennsylvania. So, Pennsylvania it doesn't have that many important elections this year. There are two that I think you should really be looking for. One is Justice of the Supreme Court. This is a important election, or an important election, I should say, for Republicans to be able to win. Do I think they will win it right now? No, I don't think they will, because of the obvious reason of, Roe v. Wade. People want their abortion rights protected. And so they're likely not going to be able to pull off an upset like they were able to in 2021, where in 2021, during the red wave that occurred then, we saw a Republican actually get elected to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now, obviously, this is not like the Wisconsin Supreme Court election where we saw Janet Protasiewicz easily defeat Daniel Kelly. That was a pretty easy victory for the liberal side of politics. We don't see that here because, really, this election does not matter as much due to the fact that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is already like a 6-to-1 split. So there's 6 Democratic justices and there's only 1 Republican justice. And yes, they do go by party affiliations in Pennsylvania. They do have party affiliations on the ballot. And so you actually do know what you're voting for when you vote for them. And it's none of this nonpartisan stuff. So I've already discussed this in another video, but basically it doesn't really matter who the Democrats nominate. They're going to have the upper hand either way. So Deborah Kunselman, Judge of the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, would be fine. Daniel McCaffrey, Judge of the Superior Court of Pennsylvania as well, would also be fine. They're both judges of the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, so they're not. Neither of them are like random lawyers or something jumping in the field. Like these are people that are actually judges already, and they do have experience with statewide. I think statewide elected office. I would have to check that out. But the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, I believe, is a statewide office. In any case, that's it for the Democratic side. But for the Republican side, there are 2 justices running, or judges running, I should say. They are Carolyn Carluccio, the judge of the Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas, and Patricia McCullough, judge of the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court, who ran for Supreme Court in 2021. Now, I personally believe the best choice for Republicans to run in this scenario would be Carolyn Carluccio, because she is from Montgomery County, and Montgomery County, if you don't already know, is a fairly blue county that goes Democratic in most elections. And so because of that, it's probably going to work out that Carolyn Carluccio is the best candidate because she will have the most experience with a blue county. She will be the most, I suppose, moderate justice, I guess you could say, if she were elected to the Supreme Court. She would, in general, just be the best candidate to appeal to independence and such, whereas Patricia McCullough went out against I think there was like a bill banning abortion in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. And what happened was Tom Wolf, the governor at the time, filed a complaint against that, and Patricia McCullough rebuked that complaint. So I think so. I don't completely remember this. But either way, that's what happened. Patricia McCullough, probably not the best justice for Republicans to run in this scenario, just because of the fact that she's more openly anti-abortion, I guess you could say. She's got a record of being anti-abortion. I did do my research on these candidates, so I do kind of know what I'm talking about. Whereas Carolyn Carluccio, judge of the Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas, definitely somebody who is in more of a blue area and could win over voters in that area. Even if she's not exactly elected from that area, she has name recognition there. That would help her for sure. So that would probably be the best choice. She's been endorsed by the Pennsylvania Republican Party. So if Republicans want a good start to the year, they've already gotten a bad start, by the way, they should probably nominate Carolyn Carluccio for Pennsylvania Supreme Court in the hopes that just maybe, if Joe Biden is unpopular enough and there is enough of a red wave in November, the red wave that didn't happen in 2022, then we could actually see a 5-2 Democratic split in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which might eventually lead to Republicans regaining the majority of the Supreme Court seats in Pennsylvania for I don't even know how long. I haven't done my research on that. But yes, if they could pick off this seat this time, they would have opportunities down the road to be able to pick off other seats and be able to take the majority. Now, with that being said, let's continue on with the judge of the Superior Court. There are 2 vacancies. People are allowed to vote for 2. So in the Republican primary, there are already 2 justices or judges. I need to stop saying justice, guys. What's wrong with me? Anyhow. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So there's 2 judges here, right? There's 2 judges in the Republican primary, and it's vote for 2. So it doesn't really matter what happens in the Republican primary because no matter what, two judges are going to go on to the election, and because there are already 2, there's nobody going to be eliminated, none of that stuff. In the Democratic primary, it's vote for 2, and there are 3, which means that it is kind of important who they pick. Democrats' best strategy probably would not be to nominate Tamika Lane, who was the Democratic nominee for Superior Court of Pennsylvania in 2021, because she already lost, I think. If she was the nominee and she didn't win, that means she lost. So, but she's been endorsed by the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, so what are you going to do? Anyway, probably best case scenario for Democrats is that Jill Beck and Patrick Duggan both end up advancing from the vote for 2 primary. And then we get down to the general election, which will occur in November, where 2 of these 4 people will become judges of the Superior Court. Yes. So that's not really too big of a deal. There's the judge of the Commonwealth Court, and this is kind of, sort of important, I guess. It's not the Supreme Court, though, so we'll just skip that. There's judicial retentions, and there is the mayor of Philadelphia election. This is the last Pennsylvania election we will be focusing on, by the way. So obviously David O., if that's how you even say his name, is not going to win the Pennsylvania mayoral election. So what's going to happen is that there's going to be an incredibly competitive primary between a whole bunch of candidates that I just scrolled through. And we are going to see one of these candidates advance to the general election and defeat the Asian guy who is not going to win any elections to Philadelphia simply because he's a Republican. And so right now, it's looking to be pretty competitive. Survey USA has it as basically a toss-up between Reinhart and Parker. So that would be Rebecca Reinhart and Sherelle Parker. There's also Jeff Brown. He was leading initially for quite a while. He could still pull an upset. And then there's, of course, Dom. Who's the Dom person, by the way? Alan Dom. Who hasn't even raised that much money. Wow. He barely raised anything. He is also viable. So this is going to be an interesting primary for sure. I think nobody's talking about it because it's Philadelphia. You're not going to get a Republican mayor of Philadelphia. But you are going to have to be researching your candidates to be able to decide who exactly you want to be winning this primary so that Philadelphia can get the best possible mayor in your opinion. I myself have not done that research, so you better go on ahead and do that. I don't have time right now. Sorry. Now we're going to move on to the Kentucky elections. And the main one that we want to be focusing on is, of course, the governor's race. So Andy Beshear's going to be the nominee. He's very popular in the Democratic Party. Pepe Martin was a former Republican. He ran as like the Republican nominee for governor, and he got like 22% of the vote in 1999. He got utterly destroyed. It was embarrassing. He is not going to win this primary. I'll just say that right out. If he does, if he did, that would be hilarious. I would absolutely, oh man. I think Republicans would have it made if he won the primary. But he's not going to win the primary. It's going to be Andy Beshear, the popular Democratic governor. Now, the most important primary is the Republican primary. This is the highlight of the evening, guys. At 7, when the polls close, the most important thing is the Republican primary in the state of Kentucky. And I will, in fact, be streaming all this, so you will get to see my reactions to it. Daniel Cameron is the Attorney General, and he is leading right now, currently, in the field. But things have narrowed up. He's facing Kelly Craft, who was the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Yes, former UN ambassador. And so she's gaining. Now, she is a terrible candidate, all things considered. She is, by all polling metrics, she's the worst candidate Republicans could run against Andy Beshear. She's losing by 25 points in this Mason-Dixon poll. Now, that's from January, sure. And either way, this poll's not going to be accurate because Republicans are not going to lose a race in a deep red state by 25. Okay? That's not going to happen. I don't care how popular Andy Beshear is. Even Steve Beshear, who was incredibly popular and an actual conservative, unlike Andy Beshear, didn't even win by that much. So it's not going to happen like that at all. But the point is, Kelly Craft is an absolutely atrocious candidate who would be guaranteed to lose, basically. Daniel Cameron is for sure the best candidate. He's only losing by 9 in this poll to Andy Beshear with 11% undecided. And from everything I hear, his campaign seems to be touching on issues that actually matter. Like, he's running a more Youngkin-esque campaign in the state of Kentucky. He doesn't necessarily need to moderate himself like Youngkin does, but he does need to make sure that he's attacking Andy Beshear for being a liberal, which right now nobody seems to understand that Andy Beshear is not a conservative. He is a liberal in a conservative state. So, Daniel Cameron, definitely the best candidate. He seems to be running the campaign that is going to touch on that issue alone. Now, currently, people have the races lean D. It's going to be likely D. I'm just going to say it right out. It's going to be likely D if Kelly Craft is the nominee, possibly solid D if Kelly Craft is the nominee. Mike Harmon, Ryan Quarles, these are both okay candidates. They are both statewide elected. Well, I think they are. Wait, is Mike Harmon statewide elected? Let me check. Yes, he's the Kentucky State Auditor. So they are both okay candidates, but as you notice, they're not at all like Daniel Cameron. Like, Daniel Cameron is the only one cracking 40% in this poll against a really popular incumbent. So I would say Daniel Cameron is the one who has the best shot of making this race competitive, and that is why this is such an important primary for Republicans, because you need to be watching this primary closely to make sure Daniel Cameron is going to win the Republican nomination, because if he doesn't, the race is a slam dunk for Andy Beshear, guys. I'm sorry, it just is. Anyway, that's it for that. We have the Attorney General race. Both candidates in that race are uncontested because Daniel Cameron's retiring, obviously, so those are uncontested. Secretary of State Michael Adams, he's got a couple of challengers in his primary. And the Democratic primary, of course, is uncontested for Buddy Wheatley. I kind of like that name. I kind of want that guy to win now just because of that name. Allison Ball is term limited. She's running for state auditor. Will probably win that. So the O.J. Oleka guy, which I love that name as well, I hope he wins, is probably going to be the nominee just because he got the endorsement from Ball. Auditor, public accounts, nobody cares. Oh, wait, actually, no, that is state auditor, so we do care. Allison Ball probably wins that. Agriculture commissioner is going to be probably the Richard Heath guy. No, actually, I'm going to make a bold prediction and say Jonathan Schell wins because he's the former majority leader of the Kentucky House of Representatives. He could, in fact, be the nominee for this. So, all interesting races to watch. Some of them contested, some of them not. But basically, there are a number of different things that we need to be watching. But I think the most important ones are Mayor of Philadelphia primary for Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice, and Kentucky governor election Republican primary. You want to be following those three primaries on May 16 to see where the tide is going to turn on November 7th. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Like down below, subscribe, do all those things, and I will see you next time. Bye.